Two-headed dog. The dog head transplant performed by Vladimir Demikov on January 13, 1959 in East Germany. He was the first person to perform a successful coronary artery bypass operation on a warm-blooded creature. Yet, he became more famous for his two-headed dog. The creature survived for 38 days. Its bodies were then stuffed and in 1988 given to Riga's Museum of History of Medicine. Android insects controlled by government. A group of engineers and scientists has come up with a way to remotely control insects, which they believe could provide an improved alternative to remote-controlled drones. The teams from Nanyang Technological University in Singapore and the University of California, Berkeley created the insect-computer hybrid robot using a living beetle.
For years, he's tried to answer a simple question.
What things would you have to strip out in terms of genes or in terms of nervous systems to be left with a chassis that is effectively a flyable chassis? Right? I mean, that's kind of like, that's really the issue here, right? Because why is an insect not a flying robot? Well, because it's got stuff in there that you'd like to kind of knock out and then get yourself a chassis.
They believe the invention could replace some drones, as the beetles would be far more agile and require no engineering to keep them in the air. They inserted electrodes at specific parts of the beetle's legs, optic lobes and flight muscles, which when triggered by a radio signal make the insects walk at a specific rate, take off, hover in the air, and turn right or left. RFID tracking chip in humans. A human microchip implant is an identifying integrated circuit device or RFID transponder encased in silicate glass and implanted in the body of a human being.
More now of our special coverage here tonight, life in the U.S. in 10 years' time. By that time, there may be all kinds of new ways to safeguard and identify all those things that make each of us unique, our faces, even our fingerprints, even our eyes. Here now with more on the future of technology, NBC's Tom Costello.
A subdermal implant typically contains a unique ID number that can be linked to information contained in an external database, such as personal identification, medical history, medications, allergies, and contact information.
Researchers predict big changes for consumers.
I think it is possible to free us completely of our wallets and keys using biometric technology, if that's what people want in 10 years' time.
In March 16, 2009, Dr. Mark Gasson has an RFID microchip implanted in his left hand by a surgeon. Japan's Unit 731. In 1984, a graduate student at Keio Medical University in Tokyo found records of human experiments in a bookstore.
Experiments to determine the best way to spread disease. And to help Ishii accomplish his first and foremost goal, the creation of deadly and easily deliverable bubonic plague bacteria. Bubonic plague is a horrible disease that causes a high fever, vomiting of blood, shivering, body pains, and respiratory failure that results in a dark purple body color. 3 out of 4 people who contract this disease die. How these plagues were introduced, the results were devastating to those unlucky enough to be contaminated. Ishii's men even sunk so low as to hand out candy to starving Chinese children. Chocolates that were laced with anthrax, a highly lethal disease that attacks the respiratory and digestive systems. Conducting these horrific tests was dangerous work, and on occasion the Japanese themselves became victims. Over the years, 1,600 Japanese researchers and soldiers died as a result of mishandling the various bacteria and viruses. These open-air dissections and other equally grim tests were conducted for a reason, to perfect a weapon that could be deployed against Japan's enemies.
The Japanese Imperial Army used biological weapons developed and manufactured by Unit 731's laboratory in Harbin throughout China, killing or injuring an estimated 300,000 people. MK-Ultra. Project MK-Ultra, sometimes referred to as the CIA's mind control program, is the code name given to a program of experiments on human subjects. At times illegal, designed and undertaken by the United States Central Intelligence Agency. Experiments on humans were intended to identify and develop drugs and procedures to be used in interrogations and torture. In order to weaken the individual to force confessions through mind control. Organized through the Scientific Intelligence Division of the CIA. The project coordinated with the Special Operations Division of the U.S. Army's Chemical Corps, which they thought to be homosexuals, racial minorities and military prisoners. The operation took place in special isolated locations throughout Japan, Europe, Asia, and the Philippines.